Good morning. This is Ari Malavi coming to you from Hidefacademy. Today's question, day 2, is liposuction dangerous? Well, when it comes to liposuction, we've covered again what liposuction is. We're using hollow bore cannulas with or without energy to remove or retrieve the fat out of your body. There are two main dangers to liposuction. The first involves injuring inadvertently vital structures and or the skin, and we'll cover that today. And the second danger of liposuction is when there's fluid shifts. Let me explain. So let's start with the fluid shifts first. When you do liposuction, traditionally, conventionally, you have to inject this fluid called tumescent fluid. The tumescent fluid has two roles. Number one is the tumescent fluid numbs your body with the fluid so that when we're doing the liposuction, it doesn't hurt. If you do it under general anesthesia, you're obviously asleep, but when you wake up, you're going to feel the pain. Well, that infiltrates all the areas and it numbs the nerves, so the recovery is easier. Some providers like to do the liposuction awake. Well, when you do it awake, it's critical that you have the tumescent solution because it'll hurt if you don't have it. The second reason for the tumescent solution is that it constricts the vessels. One of those are the vessels that feed the blood, that feeds the fat and the skin. If you don't constrict those vessels when you're manually going back and forth with the liposuction cannula, you're going to irritate the vessels and they're going to ooze and bleed. So for blood loss issues, it's very important to use tumescent solution, and it is universally utilized by everybody. Now, what is the danger? The danger is that by putting all that fluid in, you're going to shift the fluid dynamics of your body. And so, your heart is pumping blood, and we approximately have 5 liters of blood in our system. Well, let's say you add another 5 liters of tumescent. Now you've doubled the fluid capacity. So there can be fluid volume shifts. And so that is why it's so critical that in the OR, we measure your ins and outs, meaning how much fluid has been put in, how much fluid has been removed, and we try to keep it at a 1-to-1 ratio, meaning whatever fluid we put in, we want to remove that fluid at 1-to-1 to keep you at a balance. So one of the critical dangers of liposuction is fluid imbalances, and that is why we're very cognizant of doing it in and out of 1-to-1. And in addition, there is a limit, a safety limit, in the outpatient setting where liposuction is done, that means you have your liposuction, and then you go home. There's a limit of 5 liters. We're not allowed to do any more, even though you could potentially do more safely. But that limit has been set, and that's a very nice limit to have anyways, to remove 5 liters of tumescent, or infiltrate 5 liters and remove 5 liters of fatty aspirate, as we say. You can get remarkable results. The second danger of liposuction is injuring structures. Yes, we're going in to remove the fat, but what if we injure A, the overlying skin, and B, what if we inadvertently hit structures deeper, like, for example, not only in the fat where there's the nerves and the vessels, but you could potentially hit organs and other structures more internally. So one of the things that we teach at Hidefacademy is understanding and appreciating the safe zones and the non-safe zones. So let me explain this to you. The safe zones are around the lower belly and in the lower back and waist areas. I'll explain in a second. It might be a little confusing. This is in comparison to the safe zones. So the unsafe zones are in the lower mid belly and the lower mid back area and around the waist, and the safe zones are in the upper chest, over the ribs, not only anteriorly like around your breast, but also on the back and the upper middle back, where the ribs are. So let me clarify this point to you all. The safe zones are safe because, first of all, you're not going to go into deeper structures. Why? Because you have the rib backbone to protect you from inadvertently sticking the cannula, that rod, deeper. The ribs, literally the ribs, are what save you. So whenever liposuction is done, we have to be a little more cautious when we're in the not safe zones, which are in the middle and lower abdomen, because there's no ribs protecting your deeper structures, as well as in the lower mid back, where there's no ribs protecting the deeper structures. Again, that is in contrast to the areas at the top, where you have the ribs in the chest area, and the armpit area, and the upper back or upper middle back. The second component I want to teach you on, this is a little fancy, but let's just hang in there with me, is the skin. The skin can get injured by a process called vascular compromise, meaning if you were to liposuction something so close to the skin so much that you would kill off all the blood flow to it. You have to visualize that, and I'll try to put some figures up for you. You could kill the blood supply to a patch of skin. In medicine, we have this concept called angiosomes. Angiosome refers to an area in your body that's mapped out by the size of the palm of your hand. We literally have 100 angiosomes all over our body, okay? And here's the concept that's really glorious, and we take it to home, is if you liposuction a particular angiosome, even if you're very aggressive and you kill off all the blood vessels that are coming up to that angiosome can live off an adjacent angiosome. Think that through for a second. So if I liposuction an area really aggressively and kill off the blood vessels that come into it directly, it can still live off of the angiosome surrounding it by a process of horizontal blood flow. The concept is, as long as you don't aggressively liposuction an angiosome around an area that you've liposuctioned, that another way to put it is, if you preserve an angiosome around an angiosome that you've liposuctioned, that undisturbed angiosome can feed that patch of skin that you really went to town on, okay? So, again, going back to the concept of where are the safe and unsafe zones, well, guess what, you guys? The upper chest, armpit areas are safe zones because there are areas around there in other angiosomes that you're not going to liposuction. For example, if I were to liposuction the chest, well, I'm not going to liposuction the upper chest where the clavicle is because nobody has fat there. So that angiosome is going to feed the chest. If I liposuction the armpit area, well, the arm is right there. The arm will feed it, even if I really go to town on that armpit area. The same thing on the upper back. The upper back and upper middle back, if I were to really liposuction the hell out of this area, well, guess what? I'm never going to liposuction the shoulders. So the shoulders will be those adjacent angiosomes that feed that area. It's extremely safe. It's unheard of to be able to see any skin compromise in the upper back, upper middle back, or even the armpit and chest area. This is in contrast now to the abdominal area. Imagine the abdomen, okay? So in the lower abdominal area, if we're going to liposuction the upper abdomen, the middle abdomen, the lower abdomen, the pubic region, the flanks, okay? Now you have a scenario where in the lower abdomen, all the angiosomes surrounding it have been liposuctioned. So we haven't preserved an area that can feed that lower abdomen. So the same concept applies to the lower back, middle back. Because the lower back and middle back, you're often going to liposuction the buttock area. You're going to liposuction the flanks on the sides. You're going to obviously be liposuctioning the middle back, upper back, all the way around. So that is, again, a danger zone with respect to potentially compromising the blood flow to those angiosomes. Again, to reiterate and sum up our story today, to answer, is liposuction dangerous? Liposuction can be dangerous if you're not cognizant of the fluid shift paradigm. As long as you stay within the 5 liters and you do liposuction at 1-to-1 of what you put in and taken out, you're going to be okay with fluid shifts. Often we'll also monitor your urine output to make sure that you're peeing enough. That is a great indicator that your fluid shift is okay. And the second thing is knowing where the safe and unsafe zones are when you're liposuctioning. When you enter an area that's unsafe, you need to be more cautious. You have to always be thinking, okay, am I leaving an angiosome next to the area that I'm really going to town in? This is probably very important in high definition liposuction cases where we're really going to town, where we're creating these natural shadows by taking out all of the fat, the superficial fat, the middle fat, the deep fat. We're really going to town on these cases, and we have to be cognizant of leaving adjacent angiosomes intact so that they can still feed that area of skin. There you have it, you guys. I hope this is helpful to understanding whether liposuction is dangerous or not. I can tell you that the track record for liposuction is excellent, so don't fear. As long as you go to an expert provider, you should be in good hands, and you should love the results. Thank you.